Worship is not fun, my friend. Worship is not us catching fun. You do that in a nightclub. Worship is actively engaging him, walking with him, building with him. What he started, continuing with him. What he has continued, finish with him. We are the finishing generation. We are the completing generation. We are not starting any new thing. Don't start anything. What they started, continue with it. You will not start with your own button. No athlete manufactures his own button. You receive that which was passed on to you, and you run with it and pass it on. In fact, I can tell you at the end of the race, it is the button that wins. It's also the button that loses. That's why when you drop it, you are disqualified. No matter how fast you all run, the button has failed.
Do you know that the first time worship ever took place in the Bible, there was no mention of any song there? The Bible gave us a vivid account of the story of Abraham on his way up to the mountains to sacrifice his only begotten son, Isaac. And during that encounter in the book of Genesis chapter 22 verse 5, Abraham gave an instruction to his servants. He told them, "Abide ye with the axe, while I and the lad go up yonder to worship." So the definition of worship by the patriarch himself, Abraham, was not even about the songs. While we can worship during the moment of singing, singing is not just the final bus stop of worship. Worship goes beyond the songs that we sing. It's all about what we are willing to lay down, what we are willing to offer at the foot of the Master. You know, during the time of worship, there are several things that might try to obstruct the movement of the Spirit. There are several things that tries to prevent us from entering into deeper places in God. So the moment when we shift all our attention and we give the rapt attention to the only one who matters, the Elohim, then worship has actually been established. Worship has actually been achieved at that very point in time. Worship is not just funfair. Worship is not even an hobby. You know, there are several people, when you ask them, what are your hobbies? Some people tell you they love playing football. Some people tell you they love table tennis. They love traveling. They love listening to good music. They love eating good food. Some even tell you that worship is a hobby. As good as that may sound, worship is not just an hobby. Worship is not funfair. Worship is an organic life in the Spirit. So when we worship, we are not just worshiping based on our feelings. We are not just worshiping based on our emotions. Worship is not supposed to be all about us. It's supposed to be all about Him. And guess what? God is looking for true worshipers. When Jesus had the encounter with the woman at the well, He said, now is the time. This very moment I'm speaking, now is the time when true worshipers must arise. And look at the location. True worshipers will not worship God in the church. True worshipers will not worship God in their homes. Yes, worship can go on. Worship can actually occur in those locations. But the real location where worship actually happens, Jesus said, true worshippers must worship Him in spirit and in truth. So any worship routed outside this location, Jesus considered those worship to be false. Yeah, false worship actually occur outside this location I just described. So whenever we worship God out of intimacy, out of this understanding. We are worshiping God based on this revelation. So there are things we do for fun. Worship is not actually one of them. Worship is engagement. Worship is obedience. And worship is legacy. Worship did not start with you, and it will never end with you. Worship started right back even before you were born, and even long after you depart from this world, worship will still continue. Worship is the preoccupation. When you look at the angelic realm, for instance, You see that all their life's preoccupation, they leave it singing and shouting, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord." And anytime they lift up their heads and they cast their golden crowns, they're talking about the 24 elders. You see that they see a new and fresh dimension of God they had never seen before. The last version of God they saw, whenever they cast their crown and they lift up their head, they see another dimension of God, and it makes them to cry, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord." You know, we go to different choir practices. Going for practices are very good. Do you know that worship will not end here on earth? Worship will never end here on earth. Guess what? If you think worship is boring on earth, guess what we're going to do for the rest of eternity? What we're going to do for eternity is what is worship and worship God all throughout the ages, all throughout eternity. The songwriter Lawrence Oyor sang the song, my daddy, your baby is singing. I will be singing and shouting and dancing for the rest of eternity." So if you think worship is boring here on earth, guess what you're going to do for the rest of eternity? You're going to spend the rest of eternity worshiping God. So worship should stem out from the place of consciousness. Worship should stem out from the place of revelation. And just like an athlete did not invent the rules, a believer did not invent worship either. Yes, we are just like a sportsman. We're just like an athlete running. The baton was handed over to us, to our generation. The fathers, they ran their race. They ran it faithfully. They ran it with every sense of caution, and they handed over the baton to us. We can't afford to fail God in our time, in our generation. We can't afford to do that. We need to run the race. The book of Hebrews says we should run the race. Jesus, he ran the race that was set before him. He endured the cross. He was obedient even unto the point of death. So every believer should have that consciousness. Worship will not start with you. It will never end with you. So don't come to the presence of God trying to reinvent that thing that was originally passed down to us. So God already started something, and your assignment is to continue faithfully. And you need to understand that you are not just an ordinary person. You are more than a person. You are a true worshiper, a worshiper that will understand the movements of God, a worshiper that understands the ways of the Spirit, a worshiper. When you get to a point in worship, there are moments where words cannot even suffice. It's at that point you see people start chanting. You start gaining songs sung by the angels. Sometimes even when you sleep at night, you hear the echoes of Zion. You hear the whispers of eternity. You are downloading songs beyond time. You are not just singing songs as special numbers. Special numbers are actually good. You are actually singing the heartbeat of God, the movement of the Spirit. Is right at work in you. This was what happened during the time of David. The Bible said David, as soon as he played, in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 16 or thereabouts, verse 9, the Bible said that as David began to play, notice that he was not even praying, he was playing the harps. And as soon as he was playing the stringed instrument, the Bible said that evil spirits was cast away from the life of Saul. I thought deliverance usually happened. I thought deliverance is conducted only during the time of prayers. I thought deliverance usually happen when the man of God lays hand on the person, on the individual. But look at how an evil spirit was. And mind you, this happened during the time of the Old Covenant. The Holy Ghost had not yet entered into that dispensation. But yet men like David, he understood the precepts of the Spirit. He understood the ways of Zion. And as soon as he began to play, he was playing, and evil spirits were cast away from the life of Saul. It was these concepts that made David to train 400 broken and battered men. They came to David in the cave of Adullam empty. They came to the cave of Adullam battered, not knowing what next to do. But as soon as David began to play, he started changing their molecular structure. He started re-engineering their DNA. And that thing, it didn't take a long time before what happened to him started happening to those mighty men. And the Bible said that a point came in the life of David where the host of David became as mighty as the host of God, courtesy to worship. So whenever we are worshiping, we need to have those mindsets. We are not just worshiping, we are gaining ascendancy. We are ascending vertically into the mountains of the Lord. There are two kinds of houses that tries to fight for the allegiance of the lives of men. These houses are the house of Saul and the house of David. The house of Saul represents the flesh. The house of Saul is very resourceful, it's very gigantic, it's more like an empire. The house of Saul has so many resources, it has so many strategies. And initially, it will look as though the house of Saul has the upper hand. It's as though the house of Saul has an advantage over the house of David. Meanwhile, the house of David represents the spirit. The house of David is a very small, compactable house. The house of Saul will always try to hunt after the house of David. The house of David will seem very helpless at the onset, but gradually, just like the Bible told us, the host of David became as mighty as the house of God. If you allow the spirit the right of way into your atmosphere, into your boundaries, into your territory, you discover that over time the spirit will kill the flesh. The spirit will give the flesh a permanent damage, an everlasting damage that it will never recover from. And that is why whenever it's time for worship, we need to worship God in spirit and in truth. I can't overemphasize this well enough. We need to worship God in spirit and in truth. And these were some of the secrets of the ancients. Whenever it was time to worship, you see them worshiping God in psalms, in spiritual songs, and in hymns. If you examine some of these hymns we sing in our local churches today, you will discover that they were songs born out of experiences, deep experiences in God. Worship was not supposed to be a time when we just come casually, when we just converge casually into the presence of God. Every man needs to have his or her own unique experiences in God. So whenever it's time for worship, we'll tune in, we'll plug in into the realm of the Spirit. Whenever it's time to worship, we worship God based on this understanding. We are worshiping God so that He can be glorified. We are worshiping God so that He can be magnified. And finally, let's learn to worship God beyond our present situation. Let's learn to worship God beyond our circumstances. This was the secret to the overwhelming victory that was experienced by Jehoshaphat in the Bible. God made him to understand that worship was not just because he knows how to sing. God made him understand that worship can actually become a weapon of war. It can actually become a strategy. Even the devil can't even understand. How do you go to confront your enemies? You are supposed to put the most experienced soldiers at the front of the battles. But God made him to put the minstrels. And as soon as they started singing, the chants that proceeded out of the camp of the children of Israel gave them a lasting victory that very day. So if you have this understanding, your circumstance should not be a tool to make you worry or to make you depressed. You need to worship God beyond all these things. Let's ask the Lord to help us even during the time of our worship. Even as we go into the place of prayer and whenever we worship God, let God help him. Let God ride upon us like a donkey. Let God help us. Let him inhabit the praise of and the worship that comes out from our lips. Let God be magnified whenever we worship. Let him Let him smile at us. Let him desire the sweet smelling sacrifice of our worship. That is the only thing God desires from us. That is what gives the Lord pleasure. If this video blessed you, I would love for you to share, like, and comment on the comments box below. I remain my humble self, Daniel Samuel. See you in my next video.